In military side, it's much more clearer structure, understanding, mission, goal.
Without the community, without the unity, without everything that is created by citizens and civil society, many of the other things fall apart.
For me, actually, security culture is kind of integral component of a resilience mindset.
Bonjour, vous regardez L'Ukraine en flammes, une chaîne YouTube en français par l'Ukraine Crisis Media Center. Je m'appelle Tetiana Ogarkova et dans ce projet, on vous raconte comment l'Ukraine résiste face à l'agression russe. Renforcer la résilience est une entreprise essentielle dans le monde d'aujourd'hui où les menaces émergentes de la guerre moderne exigent des approches innovantes. La capacité d'un pays à faire face à des crises majeures, telles la guerre, repose sur la capacité à connecter des acteurs organisés tout aussi bien que des acteurs bénévoles et des organisations non gouvernementales dans une approche nationale globale, capable d'interagir et utiliser toutes les ressources disponibles pour la société. De tels systèmes constituent la résilience du pays et comprennent des acteurs gouvernementaux tout d'abord, mais tout aussi bien des acteurs commerciaux, des bénévoles et des individus coordonnés de manière centralisée, tous motivés par leurs valeurs et leurs normes et limités par les ressources dont ils disposent. Dans l'épisode d'aujourd'hui, nous allons justement analyser les expériences internationales en matière de renforcement de la résilience et en matière de sécurité. Et nous allons adopter ces données aux conditions de guerre en Ukraine. Si vous souhaitez en savoir plus, continuez à regarder cette vidéo et n'oubliez pas à vous abonner à notre chaîne YouTube pour ne pas manquer nos vidéos à venir. L'OTAN a clairement indiqué que chaque pays membre de l'OTAN doit faire preuve de résilience pour résister, pour se remettre en cas d'urgence d'un choc majeur, tel une catastrophe naturelle, une défaillance d'infrastructures critiques ou une attaque hybride ou armée. La résilience est la capacité d'une société à résister à de tels chocs et s'en remettre et qui combine à la fois la préparation civile et la préparation militaire. Cette exigence primordiale englobe des chaînes d'approvisionnement résilientes, de systèmes d'infrastructures résilients et une résilience contre un phénomène appelé la désinformation. Ça comprend également les exigences en matière de système de transport et de santé, capables de gérer des mouvements massifs soudains de personnes et des pertes massives. Notre premier invité aujourd'hui, Matti Radma, membre du Parlement estonien, expert en protection civile et aide humanitaire et chef de la délégation estonienne auprès de l'Assemblée parlementaire des OLCE, présentera son point de vue sur la situation en Ukraine. Écoutons-le.
I'd like to start with maybe a bit more global issues, just to explain the challenges and then maybe give some reasons why it is today so unusual situation, because normally we're thinking that we had decades to be ready for everything, for disasters, for catastrophes. First, there is two big things, defense and civil crisis. They have different structures, understandings, and principles. Usually, all countries thought that they're going in following order. It means first is civilian crisis management, and then if war happens, then going to be an highest crisis, war. And in war, primary main work is defend your country, your territorial integrity, your independence. Why it was like that? Because we have international law, and international law talks about rules during the war and protection of the civil society during the war. And everyone believed that. And today in Ukraine we see that terrorists, Russia, ignoring that. It means we are in a new situation where those two things are together. From one side, all defense and military side, and on the other hand, all civilian crisis management, and in quite long period, as Andrei mentioned. And this is a challenge. Maybe some differences between of those two words to better understand. First, in military side, it's much more clearer structure, understanding, mission, goal. And also mechanism, let's say, works in vertical philosophy. In civilian side, it is not like that, because there are a lot of players, a lot of responsible agencies, ministries, a lot of goals. And there, the frame word is resilience. How to have a resilient state during the crisis, especially here in Ukraine during the war. It includes all vital services, let's say social, pensions, etc. Then resilience of infrastructure, electricity, water, communication, and then resilience of population, society. And you can imagine how many players involved on all this field. And because that main idea of resilience is how to turn this vertical ideological here in horizontal. Because key word is cooperation, cooperation and coordination of the cooperation for state players.
Après la fin de la guerre froide, de nombreux pays ont profité de décennies de la paix et ont réduit leur préparation civile et leur capacité militaire. À raison pourtant de la guerre russe en Ukraine, la résilience sociétale de plusieurs pays est de nouveau au centre de l'attention de nombreux pays. Les Ukrainiens, eux, ont fait la preuve d'une résilience remarquable en tant au niveau individuel que sociétal. De toute évidence, les chercheurs des pays civilisés doivent étudier aujourd'hui simultanément tous les aspects de la résilience sociétale. Notre deuxième invité, Peter Högberg, chef adjoint de la représentation de l'OTAN en Ukraine, donnera davantage de détails à ce sujet. Écoutons-le.
From a NATO point of view, we have come a long way. We started out through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, very focused on civil emergency planning. To today, look at baseline requirements for broad preparedness and response across all sectors of society. So the whole of government point that was made before. And that includes civil-military cooperation. And what we have focused in on is what we call 7 baseline requirements. They lay the foundation, and it's continuity of government and critical services, it's resilient energy supply, ability to deal with uncontrolled movement of people, resilient food and water resources, ability to deal with mass casualties, resilient telecommunication systems, and resilient transport systems. We have found that those 7 areas lay the foundation for such a sectoral approach and whole of government. We have discussed that with Ukraine as well, and Ukraine actually went further than that. And they said, well, we think there is need for an 8th area, which is societal resilience. Because there was an understanding already at that point in time in 2001, when we discussed this with them, with Ukraine, that without the community, without the unity, without everything that is created by citizens and civil society, many of the other things fall apart. I think that's the lesson that we also found in COVID, many of us, the importance of civil society. We definitely did that. So moving and focusing a little bit more into citizens and civil society as fundamental actors in enhancing national resilience. There's various different things you could look at. Much of it is about informing, educating, and enabling citizens and societal groups to participate in discussions. And that's not always the case. the enablement is often very difficult. The access to the discussions, to the decision makers, and so forth. Citizens, they are partners, but they are also actors. If they're not actors, they can't be multipliers, and they can't enhance the response, so that's really important too. And then there is the trust between citizens and citizens' government. And that can only be based on communication and, as far as we're concerned, following democratic values in order to establish that trust. Citizens obviously also support defense. But here we need to understand what are the roles and responsibilities, where is cooperation, where is the need for awareness. And nations here are put up and structured in different ways. And this is very much a national choice on how you want to do this. But there has to be a dialogue about how to do it. You need to look at public information and education, and that is from preventive actions, mitigating effect, the fact that we have all the air alerts that we all hear these days, but also thinking about the reliability of information and where we get the information from and the channels. You know, is everything on Telegram the right information? Do we have to think a little bit about this and make a judgment ourselves in what we believe? And that's because of the mis and disinformation that we also need to deal with because of the social media and the environment that we face today.
La clé de la victoire de l'Ukraine dans la guerre contre la Russie réside dans la résilience et la consolidation de la société ukrainienne, dans sa capacité et volonté de faire face à de nouveaux défis, de surmonter les difficultés, de maintenir la confiance dans les autorités et de favoriser le sentiment de solidarité entre les citoyens. Selon les études sociologiques, les Ukrainiens jusque-là ont fait preuve d'un haut niveau de résilience face aux défis de la guerre. Les Ukrainiens sont prêts à remporter la victoire et refusent de faire des concessions qui menaceraient la souveraineté et l'existence même de l'État ukrainien. Notre dernier invité aujourd'hui, Dmytro Tepel, qui est expert principal en matière de résilience et directeur général de l'ONG qui s'appelle Regardez L'Ukraine, parlera davantage de ce sujet. Écoutons-le.
I understand sometimes there might be seen contradictions between resilience, security and defense. And for me, actually, security culture is kind of integral component of a resilience mindset. And by that, I mean it's basically combines a range of different skills, practical knowledge, but also attitudes. And it means that it could be cultivated, it could be trained, and it could be enhanced. So you just need proper tools for that. I just would like to highlight one tool which, in my opinion, is particularly important for resilience mindset or security culture, is actually capacity of foresight, which enables us to evaluate and to assess both also known and predictable risks, but also facilitate kind of expansion of thinking horizon regarding the potential future threats. And this foresight tool is based on multitude of different scenarios, future scenarios, and could be employed within specific instruments and tools like crisis exercises to engage different communities at different levels, local level, regional level, but also national level. So let me just present you very briefly our own experience, already mentioned here several times that our team at Regardez L'Ukraine conducted a series of cross-sectoral scenario-based crisis exercises in the 8 regions of Ukraine, various regions of Ukraine. And actually these events, they were quite multidisciplinary by their nature, which means that we engaged not just, let's say, regular suspects and regular stakeholders of resilience already mentioned here, obviously the law enforcement agencies, emergency services, the military, local and regional administrations, but also the media, local media, also opinion leaders and representatives of civil society and NGOs in their respective regions, but also teachers from schools or from universities, so educational sector was there, and also private businesses. It wasn't an easy task to invite all of them for a 2-3 day training event, which was again based on future threats scenarios. So they basically had to play. So our experience showed that first day they spent basically arguing about established protocols and algorithms. But then we created a kind of work atmosphere for them to be, let's say, more creative and more innovative, as Matti already mentioned, to focus not on the existing protocols and algorithms, but finding solutions for the problems specified in the scenarios, but also trying to expand the thinking about future threats. Because again, speaking about with the military terms, you know, military servicemen often, not sometimes, but often they are preparing for the past wars. And again, a resilient mindset would think about other threats in the future.
C'était l'épisode de l'Ukraine en flammes, une chaîne YouTube en français par l'Ukraine Crisis Media Center. Je m'appelle Tetiana Ogarkova et nous n'allons pas tarder à enregistrer et diffuser d'autres épisodes. Dans la description sous cette vidéo, vous trouverez des informations utiles sur la manière dont vous pouvez aider l'Ukraine à résister face à l'agression russe. Si vous trouvez notre travail utile, n'hésitez pas à commenter, de partager cette vidéo. Restez avec nous et soutenez l'Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!